Welcome everybody, and I'm so very excited to do a How She Did It interview with one of my newest graduates from the Thriving Studio Owner Program, Josee Madison, who I will introduce you to in a moment. But I want to introduce myself first. I'm Kiki Lovelace, and I am the owner and founder of Interstellar Pilates and Yoga Studio here in Berkeley, California. I'm in the back office right now. And I'm also the founder and lead business growth mentor of the Thriving Studio Owner Program. And the program that Josee came into is my beginner program. It's my 12-week program. I have a couple of graduate level programs as well. But really the Thriving Studio Owner 12-week transmission is the heart of the program. And I am just thrilled to bring Josee and her incredible story into this interview today, and partially because she's actually she's remarkable as a human in general, but she's also remarkable in terms of my usual kind of mentee. And so I want to tell you before we even get going here that usually the kind of people that are attracted to my program are studio owners that have been doing it for a year or 2 years or 6 years. You know, they're kind of in it and they're realizing, oh man, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Like, this is really hard. Like, I thought I was signing up to like be a beacon of support and hope for my community and like teach them yoga. And now I'm a business person. Like, I have payroll, I have cash flow issues, I have to market my studio. And so I often meet my clients there. But Josee has not even opened her studio yet. And so this is just so amazing. Her story is so amazing about how she came to decide to make this investment and all the incredible work she's been doing the last 3 months to prepare for her beautiful soul offering of a studio, which is going to be opening in November. So welcome, Josee. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. So would you tell our audience who's watching a little bit about you and your story, and mostly about like how you came to decide to open a studio at this stage in your life?
Wow. Well, I'm first of all French Canadian. I'm not even from the States. I'm from this little tiny town, and then moved to U.S. In 2007. My old life, I was a tour manager in Nashville, Tennessee. Retired from the road in 2011, and then met my husband, who's U.S. military. And being a military wife, you don't really, it's very hard to keep a career because we move every year and a half, 2 years or 3 years. And most of our married life, we were living in Europe. So it's difficult to find a career. I've always loved yoga, and I've always been a student of yoga, but when we were in Europe, I thought, you know what, I could teach. If we're moving here and there, I could teach yoga, stay healthy, and find jobs where we're stationed. And so I took the opportunity when we were in Europe to get my training in Austria, and you know the movie Eat, Pray, Love? That was my life. Yeah. You know, I ate in Paris. We loved in Italy, and I stayed in a yoga ashram for 6 weeks to get my training. So, you know, sometimes I have to pinch myself, but I call those God shots, and anybody can get God shots if you are willing. So, long story short, we moved back to the States in 2015, continued teaching, and then my husband got promoted, and we are here in South Carolina, have been here since 2017. Now, my husband had another term left, which means he had another 3 years to do something else somewhere else. So we knew after 2 years we would be gone, which would be this November. And so I came here and looked around, and where we live in the Northeast, there's no yoga studio. So I'd be driving 35 minutes to 25 minutes to go and have my own personal practice. And then I became a private yoga teacher because there was nothing around. So my car was full of blocks and blankets, and there you go. I converted the room over the garage into a yoga studio, which I'm in now. And so in February this year, I was like, oh, well, you know, my career was going well. I was a really good sole proprietor, and I had my clients, and I was teaching. And my husband said, have you ever thought of opening a studio? And I'm looking at him like, how could I? You know, we're supposed to be leaving in November. And so he didn't say anything, but then that little seed was in the back of my mind. And I'm like, yeah, how come I'm not doing that? You know, what is it? Something was holding me back. Yes, we were moving, but I've had this desire to always have something bigger than what I already had. You know, I always had a sole proprietor business. And so in April, my husband got injured, and he told me, you know, I'm done. He's been in the military 24 years, U.S. Army, yay. Thank you for his service. And so he said, I'm done. I don't want the promotion this year. I'm done. And I think it's time for you to shine. He said, I think it's time I give you the baton to have a career, and I will step down and leave in August 2020. So I'm like, whoa, now that got real. You know when you dream of something, but then all of a sudden the universe says, oh yeah, huh, do it. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, well, it just got real. And it was really funny because I was heading out to Canada to visit my family for a few weeks, and he just told me that just before. So he said, you know, babe, we've done well for each other. I mean, I'm 52, and I'm thinking I've got a good many years to live, and I don't know if I want to continue being private yoga, you know, teacher, but I wanted something more. I just was scared to maybe what it was. So when he said that, he's like, so I would highly encourage you to open a studio. Just do it. We'll be okay. I know we'll be okay because I know you. And I know how committed you are to things, and I've seen you in action, and holy, get out of her way. So I'm like, really? And he says, yeah. So, and then he's right. You know, when I commit to something, I'm committed, and I'm going to make it work. I am going to make it work. So I'm a very spiritual person to begin with. I've had a long journey of spiritual growth. I wasn't always this good. So I've had a lot of years of growing and finding myself. And so when he said that, the first thing I did is I went to the bank and I said, I would like to apply for a business loan. And they're like, well, do you have a location? No, but I'm getting one. And he said, okay, well, maybe you should have a location. I said, I'll see you Friday. And a friend of mine I knew, she's like, I know a real estate agent. And we went shopping, and by Friday I had a location. And I went to the bank.
I know that. That's incredible. Wow.
I went to the bank and I said, okay, I have a location, but the lease is still, we're negotiating. So, and he's like, okay, do you have a business license? As a matter of fact, yes. I got my LLC 2 days ago. Here you go. And he was just looking at me at the bank, and he still looks at me and he's like, Josee, I've never seen somebody so organized. and so everything happened, and I'm, you know, blah, 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 blah. And that's when I posted on my page, my yoga page, that I was opening a studio, and I heard from you. And I could not forget your post, like, hey, you know, if you need help in growing your business, I know I've been there. I know what it's like to start, and da, da, da. And I'm like, this would be the person, because in my past, I've always had mentors in anything that I've done. I've always gone for someone who's done what I've done so that I can learn from them, you know, and stop wasting time and just go to the source, ask them questions, and do what they do, you know, and then modify it for me. And so when you said that, I'm like, you know, I know it's not going to be $50, but for some reason, I don't care. Like, there was something in me that said, every time you've taken a risk, you know, and I'm a woman of prayer. And I've always said, when I pray, I'm on my knees. So if I goof up, I'm not going to fall from very far. You know, I'm not going to get hurt very much. So I just, you know, I remember sending you an email, and I was driving to Canada, and you're like, okay, well, we can talk today, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the highway. You know, I'm in Virginia. I have no clue. And I'm like, no, that's not an excuse. So I got off the highway into this little, it was so sketchy. I was so scared, but I'm like, no, it's going to be okay. And we talked for like, I think 45 minutes. We talked for a good bit. Mm-hmm. And I remember you said, well, this is the, you know, quick action, and this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to go. Da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to get to Canada first so I could talk to my husband and discuss this. But I think I already knew in my heart that this was the road for me to take, you know, and I had to talk to my rational thinking husband who's like Mr. Military Brain. Everything is processed and everything is, and I'm like, oh Lord, how am I going to do this? And when I talked to him, I said, babe, it means a lot to me for this. And you know how I am, that I always want to do things the right way. Right? So I think this is a really responsible decision. I've always had a company. I've always been successful, but this is like leasing a building, having staff. I want to make this the best way possible. And I said, you gave me the chance to discover myself. And I want this studio to succeed so that you have the chance to discover yourself, because he's retiring next year. And I said, I want to give you that chance, that you don't have to work full time, like I didn't have to work full time. And you know, yes, maybe some of you guys listening have a full-time job and 5 kids and are trying to figure out how it works. But let me tell you, it always works out. And so he said, well, that sounds good, you know, because, you know, he doesn't have to work full time or whatever. I'll take the reign. But not just that, but he understood. He said, I get where you're going. And I think this is going to be a very wise choice. So
that story, Josee, is amazing. Like, I mean, there's just like parts of that story that I know, and then parts that I just learned about just now. Mm-hmm. But I just want to highlight like a couple of things that I feel like are so remarkable. I mean, one, you've given us this like view into this freaking incredible relationship that you have with your husband. And I just think there's a lot of magic in the way you guys talk to each other and treat each other. And that's just so beautiful. And then another piece I just want to celebrate is like, you know, that I know, you know, you have been through a lot in your life to get to this place of faith that you have, and of really trusting that you are walking God's path, you know, and that you are pretty much waking up every day like, okay, what's next? You know, and there's an incredible amount of strength that I know that you get from your faith. And it does feel, whenever you tell me the parts of your story around how getting the lease and all these different things that have fallen into place, it always feels like divinely aligned. You know, it feels like, oh yeah, this is just happening to you, you know, and for you. So I would love for you to share, you know, I'm sure there are some people watching this interview who, you know, maybe are, you know, what I like to lovingly refer to you guys as baby studio owners. You know, maybe they haven't even opened, or they've just opened in the last year or in the last 3 years even. And they're probably, most of them, holding a story that they can't afford business coaching yet. And they should wait until they're more profitable. So, you know, you haven't even opened your studio and you made that investment. Like, what would you say as advice for those people that are working with the story that they can't afford it?
Well, and that has been my story too. Like, I can't afford this. But then I changed it to, how can I not afford it? And what I've learned with this training, and this is going to stick with me forever, is that there's a difference between an expense and an investment. And, you know, for me, I didn't know the difference between the two. And now I know the difference between the two. An investment can be the amount of time you put in a marriage. An investment can be the time you put to go and see your daughter, you know, or your son play baseball. An investment can be the time you put in for yourself to take a long bath. So why wouldn't you invest in yourself to grow spiritually? Because for me, that was the greatest gift that I give to myself, because now I can share and say to people, you know what, this is an investment to you and to your business. How could you not? You know, I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but how could I not? You know, I don't have children, and I don't know if you're able to see this, but this is my studio.
Oh yes,
okay.
It's in the works, baby, in the works.
Yes. So this is like in my belly, kind of like the 9 months thing, and how could I not invest in it? It's going to serve me, and I'm going to be able to serve others. And It's an investment. It's not an expense. And let me tell you, I paid that thing so quickly. It was like, okay, next, and I never even, it was just so bizarre how it works out. And how could you not? And tell yourself, that purse, oh, well, I really want it, but do you really need it? What's an investment and what's an expense? So that is something that I've learned, and that you've helped me, Kiki, on really making that detachment, that they're not together. An expense is paying your rent, whatever. But an investment, it's so much more valuable to me. And I totally respect my investments now that I make to myself, and I'm going to continue to.
Amazing. Awesome. So share with us a little bit about, I know that you stepped right into the curriculum. You were so religious about showing up, and you had your question notebook. You always had questions prepared for me, and I want to honor that for you it wasn't just a financial investment. It was very much an investment of your energy and your time and your care, and your deep desire to be of service, in this big way to your community. So share with us a little bit about what were some of your takeaways, like as you started applying, taking up the trainings, applying the coachings. What did you start to learn, and what did you start to feel shifting inside?
The biggest thing that I've learned, that I've realized just recently in a meditation a couple of days ago, was that, when you start a business, because you don't have that experience, all we think about is, how am I going to make money? Okay. You think about the money. But then I realized it's not about the money. What my shift came at is like, I'm selling meaning. I am selling meaning. So whatever value I put behind that meaning is what happens with me. So if I really care about wanting to help someone, it adds meaning to what I do. And it kind of calms me in a way that, oh my God, I got to pay this and this and this. But if you see it as a meaning, I am selling a meaning, and that's how, and I learned through this program that we sell feeling. We want people to know how good it can feel. And as a woman, I tell you what, when I see a nice pair of shoes, I see myself and I feel good seeing these shoes. I'm going to buy them, and so by adding value to not the money, but the meaning and the feeling, I've learned that. I've learned to add meaning to the value of, like, for example, if I'm going to have a $15 walk-in, I was like, oh, oh my God, are they going to pay that? But then I realized the magic question, would I pay that? Maybe not, because that was my threshold of max. I would pay $12 for a class, but that's me. And I've learned that a lot of people probably won't even flinch, especially in the neighborhood that I live in, of paying $15. But I'm adding not only the value of the money, but the value of the meaning of the class when they come in. They're going to come out and go, okay, I want to be a member, And so the mindset I really had to change, and take the money thing apart, and shift it in a way of translating into a meaning. And that was my biggest takeaway, is like, wow, it's not, I don't want to say, no, it's not about the money, but it just changes. It just changed my way of seeing things, and not being afraid to say, well, this service is going to be X amount of dollars. It's like driving a Ford Mustang and a Mercedes. There's a reason why Mercedes is it's a feeling.
Yeah, we call that in our program a service versus a sales mindset. And we start really putting service at the heart of it. Like, listen, this sacred exchange of $15, this is a sacred exchange where they give me $15 and I give them the keys to their transformation every single day when they come up and show up on their mat. And so when you start seeing what you do as a sacred service, and you start seeing the money as a sacred transaction, you're right that in a way it's not about the money. And yet in the program, we all celebrate good sales day. We celebrate because we know that the money is really just sort of like the the visible show of the energetic beauty.
Money is energy. Everything is energy.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that, and I come from a French Canadian background. We have a little house, and my mom would always say, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. There's a saying in French that says, "T'es né pour un petit pain," which means you're born to be a little bun, you know. And so I would always ask myself, well, if I'm a little bun, how can I make sandwiches for everybody? That was, even as a kid, that was how can I make sandwiches for everybody if I'm only a little bun? I want a whole loaf, Mom. I want to be a big bread. You know what I mean? And I don't know why I was thinking that, but I remember, like, I want to be a big bread, Mom. And so, but you know, our thoughts were all like, but it's a growth. And you know, when you're a kid, you're a victim of how you were brought up. But when you're an adult, you're a volunteer. You choose how to think. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I was in my own way of my own growth as a studio owner. And if I'm going to be, you know, wanting to share how beautiful a life can be, well, I have to work on myself too, and practice what I preach. And so this program really helped me, you know, break free from my mindset that if I have too much money, people are going to hate me. If I have too much money, my mom's going to talk negative about me because, you know, let me tell you what, if I call my mom and I tell her that I want to pay her rent for 6 months, you think she won't be happy? Exactly. So, and so it's just these, you know, what we have between our ears, our brain can play a lot of tricks on us. And why can't you not afford to invest in what you are passionate about?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I really saw you integrating the mindset pieces that are really like the heart of our program in this just beautiful way, integrating, understanding, having breakthroughs. And so that was one piece that I just felt like, wow, like she just took that and just ran with it in this beautiful way. And then another piece that I felt like, you know, speaking on more on the strategy side, that was really fun to watch you dance with, was really starting to get more empowered around marketing. Because I know that was kind of a thing, like, you know, you as a tour manager, you had some experience with like merch and stuff like that. So that's familiar territory. But you and I worked a lot on, you know, who it is you serve and what are the challenges that they have and, you know, what are the solutions you have. So would you share with our audience, you know, any takeaways about marketing, and also like, what is your vision for like who, you know, what is your we help statement, or, you know, whatever it is, like, however you want to describe how you serve your people?
Well, what all of my clients that I have as private clients are people who are afraid to go to studio because they didn't feel they fit in. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because you know what? I didn't feel like I fit in the first place. My very first experience as a yoga student or yogi, I showed up to a Bikram class, and you know, all my outfit was matching, and I was like, oh yeah, I look cool. And then I showed up to a class and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I had no idea and I was so embarrassed, and I left. And for a few years, I didn't want to go back to a studio because I thought, I can't do it, you know, until I realized that there's different styles of yoga and da-da-da. And so I could so relate to all my students. And I'm like, yes, we'll get together and we'll get there to where you want to get. Like, it's totally possible. And it doesn't matter if you can't do a headstand. That's not what yoga's about, you know? And so for me, it was really important to open a studio that we help beginners. We help beginners feel comfortable in their skin. We help beginners get relief from their stress. Baby boomers, Generation X, people my age going, I need a break. And some are still working and they're tired because they wish they could retire because, you know, and so my doors are open for beginners. And also where I live, it's in South Carolina, they play a lot of tennis and golf. And I'm like, you know, I've seen so many people around, or with some of my clients with injuries, you know, how could I not have specific classes to help them prevent injuries? And so, and then another thing I learned from this program is target market research. The way we talk as yogis, we can talk our language, we get it. But when you start going out there, people look at like you're speaking Chinese or some other language, you know? And so I learned in the program to really do my homework. I was afraid to call them. Like, I was like, oh my God, you know, but I did it. And that was golden for me because I knew exactly what they needed. And I knew how to speak their language and interpret that into my website. You know, I had no clue that this was an important thing with starting a business. So I thank you for that, because you said, okay, I can't remember, it was like class 4, okay, this is what you got to do. And I'm thinking, oh, dang it, you know. And people were sending me like, yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want to participate. And I'm like, wow, okay. And so at one point I had to turn off my ad because too many people were coming forward with wanting to participate. And, you know, fingers crossed that the same that say they want to come, they're actually going to show up. But I really learned that it's very, very important to have a specific type of a niche, you know. There's a studio maybe about half an hour from here and downtown, and it's near a college, so it's younger generation, and people don't want to drive there, you know. So I'm like, no, and I'm going to focus on that and that only. The beginners, Generation X, baby boomers, and we'll see how that goes. And people are very, very excited. I even have classes for the 50 plus. You know, it's like 50 years and plus, this is your class. And I started also, because in South Carolina, a lot of people are spiritual and religious, and some may have an idea that yoga may be a religion, which is not. So I'm going to start a class called Relax Yoga and Scripture, where you can bring your favorite scripture, you know, ponder upon it a little bit, have a 50-minute relaxation class, and then bring your journal. And then after class, you can kind of write down what inspired you through your meditation or through your scripture. If you heard something else, then when you just go to church, meditating is listening to God. Going to church is praying to God and asking. So I'm trying, you just see what happens, but I feel confident. And maybe because I'm attracting, like you say, we're attracting our soulmate students, and I've attracted my soulmate teachers. I refused to settle on someone that I kind of felt like, oh, I don't know, but you know, what if another teacher doesn't come up? So maybe I should hire her. And I was like, I'm not going there. I'm going to find the right team, and it's going to happen. And I do, you know. And I read recently, and it was really, it's about the mindset again. A lot of times when we think we have problems or obstacles, is we think we're smaller than our problems. So they look really, really big, and they are controlling us. But if you change your mindset to, I'm bigger than my problem, I'm bigger than my obstacle, and I am bigger than my challenge, guess where your mindset's going to go? Into finding your solution. There's only one way but up after that. So, you know, that's another question. Like, oh, well, I can't afford a coach. If you're in the problem right now, be bigger than your problem. If you're losing money in your studio, become bigger than your problem. That the solution is to find someone who can help you. You know, if you're there on your own, well, how's that working? If you're not, you know what I mean? Like, how's that working for you? If you're not, if you don't think you need anybody, why are you in where you are at? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, like, yeah, if it was working the way you're doing it currently, then it'd be working. But if it's not working, you need to take inspired action. You need to do something different, you know? So yeah, I hear that totally. So, okay. So I'd love for you to share, you know, before we close up here, I know your studio is opening like in 2 months. So I'd love for you to share both the short-term vision of like, what's next? What are you working on, you know, to do your final preparations? What's the goal? You know, if you want to share any financial goals or anything like that, just what you want to do in the first, say, year. And then also share the long-term vision too, because you have a very clear, defined long-term vision for your business. So give us a little view to what's next.
Well, we're opening November 15th. Fingers crossed everything will work out, which I know it will. If not, we'll figure it out. But I want to make at least, I'm trying to have a goal for $17,000 a month next month. And not next month, sorry, next April on my husband's birthday, where I can say, babe, you can go on your trip and I got this, you know. Even to the point where it was very bizarre. But I had a dinner with friends, not first time friends that I met this week. And I said, oh, I look forward. I said, in 2022, we're going to have a yoga retreat in Italy. And they're like, whoa, I've got the perfect villa for you. And I have a friend who lives in Italy. And I'm like, oh, well, can you help me find it? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Oh,
oh yeah. And I already have students who are ready to book. And I'm like,
well, maybe you should bump that up. I don't know that you need to wait till 2022.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, holy geez. And then for me, my end goal is to build the studio for 10 years. At 10 years, I'll be 62. I don't look 52. Thank you.
Thank you.
But yes, but 62, and then I want to sell it. And I want to have a financial freedom where my husband and I, and you know, I'm not looking to be a millionaire. It's not about that. It's about feeling free with what I've accomplished, having my husband, my dog, maybe paying off the house. Houses in South Carolina are very cheap, so that's probably not going to take a long time to do. And then just travel and look back and go, I did it, you know. I lost my best friend to cancer when she was 41, and her dream was to walk the Great Wall of China when she was 40. And she kept on, you know, when she was 39, she's like, oh, I don't know. I don't speak Chinese. Maybe I'll get lost and they'll never find me. And I told her, I said, you have got to do this. If you don't do it, I'll never speak to you again. I've known her since I'm 5. She did walk the Great Wall of China when she was 40. She died the year after of cancer. So, I mean, I don't want to be morose, or I don't know how to say that in English, but stop wasting time being afraid. You know, just do what you got to do. And this is why, for me, it's very important. I am committed. And when I'm committed, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it work. And even if it doesn't work, maybe it was meant to be that way, but something else will work around it. And that will be a lesson to strengthen me. No lesson in my life has weakened me. Absolutely not. No, sir. So that's not how I want to see it anymore in my life, you know. So 10 years, we'll sell it, whatever's there, we'll just enjoy our life and you know, be the best that we can be.
Amazing. You know, I want to acknowledge that because you know that's your dream, you know, we even had several conversations even before you opened about how to prepare to sell it. Like, you know, like we talked about what you're going to need to grow, the systems, the team, you know, how we're going to slowly but surely work you out of the business, because in the first several years, I'm expecting you to be teaching a lot and, you know, doing a lot of the administrative work. But like, we have the long-term plan of like, we're going to slowly but surely work you out and let this business stand on its own 2 feet, so that when you do go to sell it in 10 years, you can actually turn a pretty profit on that. You know, that can help fund your travel and your experiences, you know, for your retirement. And plus you'll be giving whoever this magical new owner is in 10 years, this incredible treasure of a thriving studio business, you know, turnkey business, which is just fantastic, you know. And so I am just so thrilled for you. And also, honestly, Josee, I'm so thrilled to know you. Like, you're such a wisdom keeper. And I learned, you know, you just talk and I'm all like, I need to take notes, because you just drop wisdom bombs all the time. All the time. So I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you. And I just cannot wait for the phone call or the email that I'm going to get, you know, in December and in January and in April. You know, I want to know about all your sales and all your challenges and all your wins. And I just see such good things for you. So thank you so much for honoring me by hiring me as your coach. Like, it's just such an honor that I've been able to walk this road with you. And I know we'll work together again.
Oh yeah. I'm having like Friday withdrawals right now. I'm like, oh my God, where are my peeps? You know, it's 3 o'clock. I sit in front of my computer and I'm like, maybe I secretly sign in or something. Like, you know.
You're so good.
So,
oh my gosh. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for joining. And for any of you guys who are watching this, it would just be my deepest honor to walk you through the 12-week curriculum. Thriving Studio Owner Program. You know, it's not for every single person. It's really not. You know, whenever I have those initial phone calls, I'm interviewing you and you're in me, and we're trying to figure out, are we really soul aligned, you know, to work together? And Josee and I certainly felt that when we connected.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to save you, you know, the 15 years it took me to figure things out, you know, and just be able to, just like Josee, just teach you things in 12 weeks that it took me 15 years to figure out as a, you know, as a yoga teacher and studio owner. And just, it would be such my pleasure to work with you. So I'll drop my calendar link in the comments below this video. You can click that and hop on my calendar. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Josee, for sharing your inspiring story.
Thank you.
My deepest pleasure. And we'll all talk soon.
Yes. Namaste.
Namaste.